Welcome to Big B Daily. No frauds allowed.
What's going on, man? Thank you guys for joining Big B Daily. Again, this is Big B, Brian Hanley. Thank you guys for joining the show. As always, we appreciate it. We are live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Central Time. Thank you guys for joining. Live on TikTok, live on YouTube, live on Facebook. I appreciate you guys. Also, please come and remember to join my guy. Come and sign up, follow, like, subscribe to my man Hot Soup Fantasy Football for all your fantasy football needs. Hot Soup is that guy. Come and check him out, man. I appreciate you guys. And he appreciate you guys. The guy's a football genius. So I appreciate you guys doing that. Man, let's jump into this. First, right off the top, we have got fraud alert. Y'all know we got a weekly fraud alert, baby. Fraud alert and fraud of the week. Fraud alert and fraud of the week. So today, let's break it down. So first off, let's talk about the fraud alert. The SEC football conference. The SEC football conference. Yes, the SEC is a huge fraud this season. Now, I know that may ruffle some feathers. I know that's going to make some people mad. I know people are going to be upset. But the bottom line is the SEC is not even top heavy this season. Usually there's 3 good teams and the rest are mediocre. That's not even the case this year. SEC is not any good. It's not good this year, period. And you know it's a bias. Think about this. Think about how much the SEC and the bias runs. Florida. We saw Florida get their head beaten in by Utah. We saw that. That happened. They got their head beaten in by Utah. We saw Tennessee struggle against 2 bad opponents. They go to Florida and get smacked around. Just physically whipped by Florida. That happened. That 100% happened. Yet, the polls come out this week. Florida somehow is number 25 and Tennessee is number 23. Can somebody explain that to me? Can somebody explain that to me? There is absolutely no reason in the world that Florida should be ranked lower than Tennessee. Another point of order. How in the world is Missouri not ranked ahead of both of them when Missouri beat the number 15 team in the country 3-0, and yet they're not ranked, but Florida, who we watched get their head beaten in, and Tennessee, who we watched their head getting beaten in, are both ranked. Somebody explain that to me. Somebody explain that to me. Doesn't make sense. Does not make sense. Look, the SEC, fraud alert. Get it together. As far as the fraud of the week, it's Joe Burrow. It's Joe Burrow. I don't care what anybody says. Joe Burrow is not playing good football. Now, the thing that I will say is that he has a history of not playing well the first 2 games of the season. In his 4-year career, he is 1-7 the first 2 games of his career. 1-7. That includes both years that he went to the playoffs and 1 year he went to the Super Bowl. So not great the first couple of weeks out of the chute for Joe Burrow. But the bottom line is we were expecting big things, and they very well may still happen. But Joe Burrow, definitely the fraud of the week. Definitely the fraud of the week. Let's move on. Hey, man, interact here. Let me know. Big B's top 5 NFL teams. Big B's top 5 NFL teams as of week 2. Or I guess technically as of week 3. Let me break it down. Number 5, what do I got here? The Eagles. The Eagles are at number 5. The Eagles are still a good team, but we're still waiting. We're waiting for them to get it together. We're still waiting for them to get it together. They haven't played a great game yet. It's still early. It's still early. But the Eagles are at number 5. And number 4, boom, the Ravens. I like the Ravens. I like what the Ravens are doing. I think the Ravens, Lamar hadn't played great, but he hadn't played bad. And they're doing what they need to do to win football games. That's a big win. It's a good win at Cincinnati last week. That's a good win, Cincinnati. Number 3, I got the 49ers. If they would have played the same way they played against the Steelers this past week, because I'm still not that much a believer in the Rams. I think the Rams are better than what we thought, but I'm still not that much of a believer in the Rams. I'm still not that much of a believer. Number 2, I got the Dolphins. The Dolphins are crazy good. I like them. They played 2 tough road games, won them both. Their offense is phenomenal. Their defense is playing well. I like them. But as much as it pains me to say, the top team in the league right now is the Dallas Cowboys. It's the Cowboys. The Cowboys. Look, first of all, there's not a better defense out there right now. Now, they haven't played great teams with great offenses, so I will say that. But the Cowboys are playing really good football. You can't take it away from them. I'd like to take it away from them. Y'all know me. I can't stand the Cowboys. But the bottom line is they're good. They're just good. They're good. As always, man, everybody, again, live here on TikTok. Still, we're looking for 3,500 likes, 30 follows. So tap the button. But more importantly, shoot on over to YouTube, man. Shoot on over to YouTube. Come subscribe. You know it's free. And subscribe to Big B Sports Talk. The chat is up and going. We got special guests over on YouTube today. My man CJ, his job, he breaks down quarterbacks, been doing it for a number of years. We're going to bring him live on the show and talk a little bit about football today and breaking down quarterbacks. So on TikTok, you'll be able to hear it. You won't be able to necessarily see and interact. So jump on over to YouTube if you want to see it. CJ, how's it going, my man? CJ, you there? Technical difficulties. I see him. That's all right. We'll get it together. But what do y'all think about that top 5, man? Tell me what y'all think. Eagles, Ravens. Think the Dolphins? Eagles, Ravens, 49ers, Dolphins, Cowboys. I don't put the Commanders in there. No, I do not. No. Bryce Young's going through some growing pains. Yeah, he is. Until they get a better offensive line, it's going to be tricky in Carolina. They got to rebuild that offensive line. So the Dolphins are number 3 or number 2 team. So no, I didn't say them twice. And if I did, I apologize. But bottom line, it is the Eagles, the Ravens, 49ers, Dolphins, Cowboys. So I like it. There is no top 5 after 2 weeks. Well, yeah, there is. Let's shoot it back. CJ, you there, my man?
Hey, B, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I am good. What's happening with you?
Fortunately, having a little audio issue right now. Can't hear you, so
Oh,
my
okay.
apologies.
That's all right. Let's see here. Well, we're just breaking down quarterbacks and stuff like that. But you can't hear me, correct? Yeah, it can't hear me. So let's do this. Boo-doo, boo-doo. What about Seattle? What do y'all think about Seattle? Y'all think Seattle's still good? I still like Seattle. I think that was a crazy good win that they had on on Sunday. Crazy good win. I like Seattle. I think Seattle's still going to win that division, by the way. Let's get a question over here. Big B, what do you think of the Rams so far? Well, Nick, man, I like the Rams. The Rams are definitely better than what I thought they were going to be. I thought the Rams were still going to be a laughing stock. I didn't think their line was going to be worth anything, bro. I'll be honest. But it's not bad. It's not bad. So I like what the Rams are doing. Stafford is healthy. He's moving around. He's having a good day or having a good season so far. I like the Rams. I like the Rams. It's a good question, Nick. MNG Sinister. Canada has to go. Sullivan or Thomas can take over, use the backbone and put some wrinkles. Man, you're preaching to the choir. Matt Canada must be fired. Matt Canada must be fired. The Steelers have a championship defense. Now, I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win the Super Bowl. But the Steelers can win 10 to 11 games this year if they can put together a semblance of an offense. That can happen, but not the way they're playing offense. First of all, Kenny Pickett has played awful. Let's just call it what it is. Kenny Pickett played awful last night. Unsure of his throws, double clutching, missing wide open receivers, just inaccurate, just bad. Bad, bad, bad. The offensive line has played bad. But you're right. Matt Canada, he's got to go. It's time to get something else in there. I like the idea of Sullivan coming in and just calling plays. Just get some more imagination out there. Something. Something. Let's see. What do we got here? The Rams got a nice attack. Yeah. The Rams look to be a nice attack when Kupp comes back. Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they got Puka, they got Tutu, they got Kupp, and looks like they can run the ball a little bit. The Rams may have a little bit more than what I anticipated, what a lot of people anticipated, man. Yeah, the Rams got two legit receivers, and when Kupp comes back, that'll make three. I think the Rams got something. I think the Rams absolutely got something. Yeah. That's great, great point, MNG. Kupp, Puka, and Tutu has been the most interesting receiver room to call games for. Yeah, buddy. Well, I mean, when Kupp comes back, the Rams are going to have to be dealt with. They are going to have to be dealt with. Again, man, thank you guys for joining Big B Daily Show. We had some technical difficulties, but we're still rolling. We're still rolling. So, one thing, again, if you're in on TikTok, just remember we're looking 3,500 now. We're looking for 5,000 likes. We wanted 3,500. We bump it up to 5,000. We're looking for 30 follows. So if you're in here not following, give me a follow and then shoot on over to YouTube, man. Come subscribe to that page. Doo-doo. Burrow has no line and he's hurt. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Joe Burrow has absolutely no line still. And he's playing. I mean, the first game was a monsoon. Last game, he didn't play great. How much money is Cincinnati going to throw at that line and them still be bad? So that is nuts. That is nuts. All right. I think we got my man CJ in, man. Can you hear me, brother?
I can hear you now.
All
Can you
right.
hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. Sometimes you have tech issues and like a quarterback in the fourth quarter under pressure, you got to make adjustments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what is this tech world without tech issues? It is what it is. So,
Indeed.
breaking down quarterbacks. I know that is your thing, man. So, I'm going to throw a couple of quarterbacks at you today, and then we'll just break this stuff down. First one off the bat, Deshaun Watson. What is wrong with Deshaun Watson? I know what I personally think, but I'm going to let the guy that breaks down quarterbacks for a living tell us what he thinks. What is wrong with Deshaun?
Okay, outside of the fact that they try to go get a guy who doesn't do what fits their scheme, it's a fancy scheme, bringing him in and trying to implement stuff that makes him comfortable has actually made him uncomfortable. It's like Deshaun Watson's out there processing instead of just playing. And then he ends up in a situation where he goes to make a pass that he usually is confident in making, and instead holds the ball, puts his eyes down, and takes off. He's playing as if he is. I don't know if he played this poorly in high school, but that's how a high school quarterback who's too talented but not ready to actually process does stuff. And we know that he can process, so he's overplaying right now, and he needs to just get back to basics.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That, I mean, from what I see, it just looks like he's trying to do too much. Just what you said. He's trying to do too much versus just going back and playing. Because I think, I mean, you brought him in. That's not the style that he fits. But I think if you just said, this is what we're doing, I think he'd be okay. I think he would be okay, but they're trying to do too much with him, which means he's trying to do too much. I think it's a mistake. Lean on the running game. That's what you're successful at, regardless of what he did before, man. And last night was just awful. I don't think I've ever seen Deshaun Watson play that bad before, man. I really don't.
It's I don't remember a time. I'll be honest. Even last season, you can kind of give excuses. This one, he was doing things that didn't make sense. There were times when he could have just easily taken a check down, just gotten rid of the ball, and instead he dropped his head. He tried to roll backwards to make a big play and have to throw it away. And I mean, Elijah Moore did him no favors multiple times, but
Yeah,
it's hard to blame the receivers when they don't know when the ball's supposed to be coming to them anymore.
exactly. Exactly. It's bad. So next up on the list, I was just talking about it a minute ago. Joe Burrow. What is going on in Cincinnati? Obviously, look, the easy thing to say, and it may be the actual truth, their offensive line still stinks. I mean, it does. His first game he played in a monsoon. He did. And he might be hurt, which it sounds like that he is. And it sounds like he got rushed back, or he rushed himself back and shouldn't have. And now he's hurt again. Let us know what's going on with Joe Burrow, man.
So I'm going to go the route that's the easiest one here. There's a terrible infrastructure there from a coaching standpoint. When your offensive line is bad consistently, even though you keep spending money on it, eventually it's you. Eventually
Yes,
it's your
sir.
scheme. Eventually it's the way that you set things up.
Yes,
Number
sir.
two, I don't care if Joe Burrow came in there and stood on the field the whole game in game one. I wouldn't have had him in the game if I were the head coach because I need you down the stretch. I don't need you for game one. I need you to be fully healthy.
Yeah.
So now they're probably in a stretch where he's going to need at least 3 weeks, maybe 6 to
Yep.
get back to fully healthy. Otherwise, cancel Christmas and we'll have him on the IR sooner than later if they don't actually let that calf heal.
Correct. The funny thing about that, CJ, is every single pundit that you have heard on television has said that is a 6 to 8 week injury. Every single one of them. When he got hurt, they all said the same thing. And they all said he's coming back too soon. And lo and behold, here we are, and he's hurt again. So it's one thing if one person says it or two, but when everybody's saying the same thing, that it just lingers and lingers if you don't let it get healthy. And he didn't let it get healthy. I got a bad feeling. Plus, what has come up here recently in the last 5 to 10 years is that these calf injuries are starting to turn into Achilles injuries. That's where the big problem comes in. That's why I'm like, just sit it down for a minute and get healthy. Just sit down, but I don't know. Doesn't sound like that might happen, but I know he's not playing great. And you're 100% right. You can't keep picking all these people and paying all this money, and the line is still bad. Sooner or later, it's the people that are picking the players that are the problem. That are the problem. And that's the problem in Cincinnati.
Yeah. And the other thing that's frustrating about Joe Burrow, just to bring it all back, is you just paid him money. You did all these things. Again, if you're going to invest in someone, you might as well invest in someone who's like them, a backup quarterback that's of some substance. It'd have been much better if they would have gone and given just a little bit of money to like a Jacoby Brissett or someone who'd be ready to actually take over if necessary. Jake Browning can't do that.
Exactly. Jake Browning is not capable of doing that. So we'll see. We will see. Now, that kind of leads me into my next question as far as what are the Jets going to do with Wilson? Wilson, to me, he can't play. Wilson just can't play. He's been given the opportunity. He just is not capable of being efficient at the position at this time, in my opinion. What are the Jets going to do?
Well, and I mean, I'm going to toot my own horn here, and I'm not the only one, but everyone was enamored with the 2020 film. I said, go look at 2019. This is how he played. These were the mistakes he made when he didn't have 7 seconds to throw the ball.
There you go.
Now, what are they going to do with them? Hopefully he doesn't get anyone injured. Hopefully he doesn't take money out of people's pockets, and they have to ride this out for at least the next 2 weeks. The reason being is behind the scenes, they're on the phones. They're trying to get deals done, and they have to decide whether or not they're willing to spend minimal capital to get a competent quarterback in there, like Jacoby Brissett for maybe a 4th rounder, or if they want to wait till the Vikings crater, go all in, send a future 1st round and some sort of other compensation for Kirk Cousins so that they have a chance to truly compete for a Super Bowl. I know it's funny to say with Kirk Cousins, but that would be a team built specifically for him to be successful.
I totally agree. And you're right. People talk about Kirk Cousins, but the bottom line is Kirk Cousins is a huge upgrade over Zach Wilson. Huge upgrade. There's another name that people have been throwing out, and I said it immediately. What about Jameis Winston? You think Jameis Winston can come in and do the same thing?
So I would say Jameis Winston, if their team was designed a little differently, not only offensive side, but the defensive side. Jameis is basically a bell curve. He's high risk, high reward. I love him for that, but they would hate him in New York for that. On the weeks when he's high risk. So I don't think he's designed for it. They need more of a high-end game manager, which oddly enough, Aaron Rodgers would have been at this stage of his career. But Jameis is good for a team that really needs to push the pace that doesn't have much of a defense because he's willing to threaten down the field.
Absolutely. I gotcha. I still like Jameis. I call him 30 for 30, obviously for a reason. But I think Jameis, I mean, he's got to be better than Wilson. I just don't know what they're going to do, man, because this is bad. And he's a bad quarterback. And I blame the Jets, though. I blame the Jets because you could have brought in a 3rd quarterback, somebody behind to say, look, this guy's going to be the backup. If you truly believe that Zach Wilson, that you could put him on the bench and let him learn, then great. Let him be the scout team quarterback and let him learn during the week, but get you a solid backup in case a 39-year-old quarterback happens to go down for a week or 2. Imagine that. And they didn't do that, and now they're paying the price for it.
It's insane to see that there's a guy who arrived 9 days before starting an NFL game, looks leaps and bounds better. They could have had Joshua Dobbs.
Yes.
Who actually looks like a competent quarterback at this stage.
Yes. So many guys out there that are better than Zach Wilson. It's insane. But then again, it wouldn't be the Jets if the Jets weren't doing Jet things. Lastly, man, let me ask you this quick question. This is near and dear to my heart. What the hell has happened to Kenny Pickett?
I need to pause because I don't know, and clearly he doesn't know. He forgot everything that he learned in the preseason. I mean, there was a comment that maybe he had a concussion at the end of the San Francisco 49ers game, but unless it lingered into this one, it looks like he has no clue how to play football.
Yes.
And that's not true. Kenny Pickett was never a high-end quarterback, but he's not terrible. And right now he looks awful. The play calling is they ran some sort of odd option that I've never seen with Kenny Pickett, like he was Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. I don't know what's going on there.
3rd and 1 read option to the strong or the weak side. You were outnumbered and you motioned another defender into the play. I'm like, what are we doing here?
I've never seen that before in my life.
Oh, bad. But my thing with Kenny
Oh,
Pickett is it's just what you said. He's hesitant. First of all, he's been inaccurate as all get out. Doesn't trust what he sees. Double clutching. It just bad football. And I don't understand. It's like, what happened? What happened between the preseason and the regular season that caused him to be such a bad quarterback at this point? I don't get it. I just don't get it, man.
I mean, the interception he threw that was also high school football. It's as if
Yes.
he didn't had no clue what the defensive scheme was, and then was like, "I'll just throw it. We're playing one-on-ones, right?" No, but that's been a common theme this first 2 weeks. If you look around the NFL, there's no quarterback who's played exceptional football in 2 straight weeks. Even Tua, who's come the closest, hasn't been great. There's been just pretty mediocre quarterback play across the board, and I'm wondering if it's just defenses were ready for prime time and the quarterbacks were a little bit behind because they didn't play enough in the preseason, and these defenses did.
Well, that was going to be one of the questions that I asked you about, CJ, is like you look around the league. I mean, you can say Brock Purdy, you can say Tua, you can say Stafford to an extent. I go, but there hasn't really just been elite quarterback play that you're saying, oh man, this guy is ripping it up. You can't say that this year. Usually in years past, after 2 weeks, there's 10 guys that you can say have been ripping up the league. This year, that's not the case. Anything different that's going on?
Great question. I was going to actually champion my guy who unfortunately can't finish a game, and Anthony Richardson, and say, hey, at least this rookie is showing up and showing out, but he's got to stay healthy. But other than that, I haven't seen anyone actually look like they're moving the needle. Even Lamar,
Yeah,
Josh Allen, those guys don't look like they're moving the needle in the positive direction for 8 quarters.
correct.
So,
Correct. Josh Allen got it back together, but that first game against the Jets, that was pathetic quarterback play at best. I mean, my God. Turnover machine doesn't even begin to describe it because it was more than that. It was just the reads in general. He was just bad. And then this past week, I mean, you play against the Raiders, that'll help you. And it
right.
did. And he played better. But if you notice, they kind of, for Josh Allen, they took away the deep ball, that they started throwing intermediate and shorter routes and said, look, you don't have to go get it all. Just let's do these intermediate and short passes, maybe taking some of those decisions away to make him more sufficient. Because I think if I saw it correctly, he's at 76% on the season. So, and that's with that horrible game against the Jets. So I think taking away some of his options may have helped him.
It's very odd. I do feel that that's a good move for a person like him who's going through this, because a part of it, I think, this sounds weird to say, but I think he got bored. It's almost like
Yeah,
Josh Allen was like, let's see what I can do. I know my arm can do this, but there's other people who depend on you. So you can't just fall in love with your own arm strength. And they let him rein it in. Hopefully this lets him reset. And in games when they do have these big chunk plays, you don't have to get 5 of them in a game. You can get 2, and that's amazing.
exactly.
Complete underneath passes and win games by 20 points. And that's pretty fun also.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, well, man, I appreciate it. I thank you for coming on. I got some Q&A questions here that we're going to scroll through here on YouTube. Do you have a minute? Stick around to
Sure.
answer a couple. I know you got to run, but let's go through a couple of these, man, and see what we got. So, and they may not all be quarterback questions either, but I know you're a football person anyway. So let's dig
Yes.
in. So the first one from my man MNG Sinister. Dallas defense has showed out against the Giants team that had no clue they were playing, and Jets team that is struggling. My question to that though is so I guess he's asking, are the Cowboys is it that good, or are they just playing against inept offenses? And my answer to that is two things can be true.
Yeah. No, I mean, listen, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Garrett Wilson went Garrett Wilson for one play. Other than that, they've dominated. And yes, we can say what we want to about Daniel Jones not being that good. Daniel Jones is an average quarterback.
Yeah.
He is literally what you're going to get out of the average bucket for the NFL. And Zach Wilson is a terrible quarterback for what you're going to get. They didn't have letdowns other than one play. The pressure is real. We know Michael Parsons is real. We know that DeMarcus Lawrence is real. And what they did is they fortified the back end by going to get a number 2 corner who's really a number 1 is Stephon Gilmore.
Yes.
That defense is real deal. You might want to wait for them to play a big name team, but to be candid, it doesn't matter. It's going to be the same result.
Yeah. That's kind of my feeling on it as well, is Cowboys defense is just the real deal this year. We can say what we want, but the Cowboys defense is the real deal. Personally, here's another question from MNG Sinister. Personally, Seattle has had a lot of help from the Zebras. I don't believe that at all. I think Seattle is a very good football team. Now, they got whipped. I think they may have underestimated the Rams week 1, like myself, and a lot of people did. A lot of people underestimated the Rams.
Yep.
However, and I don't want to hear this about the Zebras. I think Seattle's a good football team.
Yeah. And look, week 1 is a liar sometimes. I think it's 7 straight years where one of the top 3 point spread teams didn't just not cover the spread. They've lost outright, even going back to my Saints in 2018. So they were tied for the 3rd highest point spread in week 1, got stumped. Came back, tough game, and won. Everyone gets helped by the Zebras at some point. It's not on purpose. Everyone gets hurt by the Zebras on some point. It's not on purpose. Detroit, home game, 10 days off. They should have taken care of business, and they didn't. And that's the most horrifying portion is with 2 starting tackles out, you still couldn't get pressure on Geno Smith, who showed up and showed out late in that game.
That's the difference. And that's why I said that Seattle would be good. I said if Geno plays like he played the first 3 quarters of last year, if he plays like that again with what Seattle did in the offseason, I'm just telling you, I picked them to win the West. A lot of people call me crazy. I said, just wait till the end. I go, San Francisco's good. Seattle's good too. Just wait till the end. They got a good football team. And they're physical. All right.
No, I picked them to not win the West. I just picked them to tie with them. But
yeah,
man.
They're Seattle's gonna be good. They're a good football team. Just got caught off guard first week, like I said, because again, I don't think anybody thought the Rams were gonna have anything. And even if you look at it, smoke and mirrors on the line, it's not because their line is better. I thought their line, the Rams' offensive line, was going to be horrendous. They're just better. They pick guys and they are better. So, all right. Zach from TikTok, he's asking, what do you think about the Green Bay Packers? It's a good question, CJ. I like Green Bay. I'm still not sold on Jordan Love, but as a quarterback guru, let us know what you think about Jordan Love.
Sure. So Jordan Love did not have the meteoric rise or jump like people might have expected from his talent. What Jordan Love has done is played the position that he's been asked. Anything that LaFleur has asked, he's run the offense exactly how he wants it. I think as he gets more comfortable throughout the season doing that, and he's in the right division to be able to accomplish that, then he'll start to show you the talent he had. People forget, as a redshirt freshman, he was putting big numbers up, and I think they won a bowl game like 52-0 when he's a redshirt freshman, and then changing OC. He then kind of went downhill, but it was inconsistency in college that really got him more than him not having the talent.
Yeah, I think Jordan Love, I was iffy on it. I was either Jordan Love can play, and the Packers knew it, and they were ready to be done with Rodgers, kind of like the same thing with Favre and Rodgers. Or the Packers were tanking and they wanted to get a new quarterback coming out this year, and they were just going to throw Jordan Love out there. Well, it seems like I was wrong on that aspect of it. It looks like Jordan Love can play a little bit of football. Good for him, man. Good for him. Let's see what else we got here. I'll get you 2 more, and then I'll get you out of here, man. So here is my man, John Marshall. He's asking, are the Vikings going to be all right? My first thought, first of all, I've known John Marshall literally my entire life. His mom and my mom are best friends. So I've known him my entire life. I think he was there the day I was born. And he's a lifelong Vikings fan. I'm sorry, John. The Vikings are going to stink. They're not going to be all right. CJ, what do you think? And again, I think the offense will be okay and keep them in games, but that defense is horrid. Horrid.
I was actually shocked, and I agree with you. Unfortunately, John, I don't think they're going to be all right if you're looking for them to be anywhere near where they were last year. I have them
Yeah.
going 7-10 on the
Yeah.
season. I had that before the season. I'm sticking to it. The biggest problem is everyone says personnel is bad on the defense. I don't know what Flores did from the first quarter and a half against Philly
Yes.
to I've never seen a defense that just lets people out of the gate. There is no hands-on receivers. They just let them free run. Safeties are biting down. It was odd to watch. And if that's going to continue, they have no chance of winning against teams that have as much, if not more talent than them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. I know they're trying to be aggressive and all this stuff, but if you're not going to get hands on receivers and just let people get free releases, you're going to have a problem. I mean, you're going to have a problem. And it's not like their personnel is great. Let's just be honest. They don't have the best personnel on defense either. So it's going to be a problem. But that kind of brings me, now that we're talking about the North, and I didn't want to bring them up because I feel bad, but CJ, daggone it, Justin Fields. I mean, I tried to say that it was everybody else. I tried to say, and don't get me wrong, the line's not great. The offensive play calling's not great, but I watched this game, the all 22 back against the Buccaneers. He was awful. What's Justin Fields, man?
To be honest, what this looks like, and it's really easy to blame the offensive coaching because they've not done a good job.
Right?
But Justin hasn't done a good job actually playing to what they want. I think it's because it's one of the worst marriages in the NFL. They have effectively taken away anything that made Justin Fields really good in high school and college, and that's the threat of running. Justin Fields has no design runs. He does not get on the edge. And also, this guy's a deep ball thrower. He's a better deep ball thrower than Trevor Lawrence, and I'll stick to that. But there's no deep balls in the packages. There's a lot of short crossers. The closest thing they came to running a deep pass on was a sail route where it's not even supposed to go to the deep. So it's a bad marriage. This would actually be better if Justin Fields was in Atlanta with that offense than
Yeah.
in this offense in Chicago.
Yeah. It's
And,
weird.
and honestly, that would be a good trade for Atlanta to get more capital in from a Chicago Bears team. And it doesn't look like it's going to be. They need to make that move. Desmond Ritter, good for you, but Justin Fields would be perfect. And I'm a Saints fan, so I hate saying this, but Justin Fields would be perfect in their offense, not what Luke Getsy's trying to run in Chicago right now.
The thing about Chicago, and I've said this for several years now, Chicago needs to be sold. The Bears organization and how it's being run, they are running it into the ground. They just have to sell the football team and let somebody else start making football decisions. Now, is that going to happen? No. But the bottom line is that is the problem. Or what's going to have to happen, and I hate saying it like this, somebody's going to have to die off, and then a child is going to have to say, I'm not interested in running this team. You take over and run it the way that you want to, and I will just be a silent owner. That's it. Sign off on any major money decisions or whatever, and just be completely hands off. But that's not what goes on in Chicago right now. And they're just not run well as an organization. It's so bad, and I feel so bad because Chicago, the NFL is better when the Bears are good. They're one of those franchises that the NFL is better, but it's bad. You're right. It's just bad. There's not a whole lot else to say, man, other than you're right. I mean, they bring in DJ Moore, good receiver, 5 targets in 2 weeks. How does that work? I mean, literally, how does that work? I'm just like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and the disconnect is real there. You see Justin Fields, honestly, he knows where to go sometimes, and he just doesn't have confidence to go there, and that's also a problem.
That's a problem. That's a problem. So, well, hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. Let everybody know where they can find you and check out all your good stuff, brother.
Sure. So wherever you get podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple Pod, etc., you can find me on Chopping It Up with CJ. I have 4 different shows on there: Make Good Mondays, Turf Talk Thursdays, Week Side Wednesdays, and Fantasy Football Fridays. Go check it out, and I'll explain more in each of the shows as to what they are from a content standpoint. If you're in the New York area, I am the fantasy guy for Pix 11, so you can see me on the NY Blitz as well. And I'll be doing some other projects throughout this year where you can find me.
All right, man. I appreciate you taking time to join us today, man. I really do.
Thank you for having me on. And next time I'll try to make sure that these tech issues do not crop up.
Nah, you're all good, man. It's all good. We appreciate you. You have a good one, man.
All right, you as well.
All right. All right. So let's take a look here. Do a couple more Q&A for you people out there. I appreciate it. Dakota Billings. What's going on, man? I appreciate it. Thanks for dropping in, Dakota. All right. So we got a question here from April H. Can Mahomes win another MVP with a mediocre O-line? What do you think, TikTok? Can Mahomes win another MVP with a mediocre O-line? I think that the Chiefs got to figure this out. I think they got to figure it out. And hopefully they will, but it's a problem. It's a problem. My answer to that is no. If the line doesn't improve, no. And it's everybody thinks it's just the tackles. It's not. I've gone back. I've looked at both games, the all 22 of both. The interior is getting their butt whipped as well. The interior is getting their butt whipped as well. So it is not just the tackles. I know they get all the splash, but it's not just them. It's not just them. They got to get it fixed or they are not winning. Because the run game's non-existent. You got to have some semblance of one and be able to run it sometime, and they're just not able to do that right now. So let's see here. My man, Coach K. Stokes. What NCAA conference division will have the most teams in the playoff? Well, here's the thing. I don't care if the Pac-12 has the top 8 teams in the country, 1 through 8. There is a 0 chance that the selection committee will have 2 Pac-12 teams in the college football playoff. That ain't going to happen. I don't care what anybody says. Because you're telling me that if those 2 teams happen to be Utah and Oregon State, you think they're going to let those 2 teams be in the playoffs? No. Not as long as money's involved. Not as long as money's involved. And look at the NCAA tournament this year. The championship game, San Diego State and UConn. One of the lowest rated games in the last 25 years. Now, you don't blame the kids because the transfer portal has made teams, they made basketball even more parity. The parity in that is just insane, which I love. But there's no chance that they're going to let that happen. If anything, I say they let the Big Ten have 2. But if they happen to let 2 SEC teams this year, then they might as well not have a playoff because it's biased. You know it's biased. Because the SEC stinks this year. It stinks. It stinks. Let's see. What else we got here? We broke down Justin Fields already. My man, Dakota. Thoughts on Washington State? We look good and have a shot at the Pac-12. Cam Ward isn't talked about enough, in my opinion. You're 100% right. I like Washington State. Now, Washington State's defense is leaky. That's where I think they can get into problems. They'll have to win shootouts. But if they win the shootouts, it is what it is. But I like Washington State. Pac-12 needs to get their due. Pac-12 needs to get their due. They got really good football teams. And I'm not talking about Colorado as one of those. because I think as the season goes on, we'll start to see Colorado is not one of the better teams in the Pac-12. And I want Colorado to do well, but they're not going to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the Pac-12. They're just not. But you are 100% right, Dakota. Got to talk about them more. Got to talk about them more. I like Washington State. Again, the defense is a little bit leaky, so there'll be some issues. So, and over here on TikTok, yes, Sloth, you're right. Oregon will expose Colorado. They absolutely will expose Colorado. They're going to expose Colorado's defense. They're just going to beat them up. I mean, they're just going to line up, run the ball, and there's not going to be anything that anybody can do about it. Not going to be anything they can do about it. So, got time for a couple more. Let's go back to Dakota. I don't know what the message was. Oh, don't worry about that, man. I got you. We got you. Doo-doo-doo-doo. Now, here's a good one by MNG, my man, MNG Sinister. You're right. Pac-12 will get 2 teams only if it's USC and Oregon. You're 1,000% correct. It'll be USC and Oregon or UCLA, one of those, or even I'll throw Washington into that too. Of those 4 teams, we could get 2 if it's out of those 4. But don't let Utah or Oregon State or Washington State be one of those top 4. They're not going to do it. Not going to do it. It either has to be USC, UCLA, Oregon, or Washington. That's it. And that's a shame, but it's the way it is. It's just the way it is. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. I like the show today, man. I appreciate y'all. Again, anybody on TikTok, if you're not following, please give me a follow. Shoot over to YouTube. YouTube is where it's at, man. The chat is always better over on YouTube. I thank all you guys, man, for joining in today. Again, Big B Sports Talk, or Big B Daily Show. Again, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Central Time. I have a podcast coming out, I think, on Thursday for Big B Sports Talk. So, again, come on over, subscribe to the channel, or anywhere you get podcasts, you get Big B Sports Talk. Thank you guys again. Let me get one last question up here. Who do I got? Oregon versus, I think you may be saying USC, or unless you're talking about Colorado, which would be CU. But either way, I got you, Coach. I think Oregon blows Colorado's doors off. I think Oregon blows their doors off. I just think they line up and run the ball right down their throat. They just line up and run it down their throat. Colorado's going to have little to no resistance in that. Now, they might get hot. Shedeur may get hot and can keep them in the game for maybe a half. But the second half, Oregon will just be too strong for Colorado. Colorado just doesn't have the depth yet. They don't have the depth yet. And that got shown against Colorado State. They just don't have the depth yet. So I thank you guys, man. I appreciate it. And I will holler at you guys again. Tomorrow, we'll be back and we'll do this all over again, man. Thank you guys. Have a good one.